I'm your standard, prototypical, jaded MMO veteran. I've played MMOs for a long time and I've gotten myself hyped up about quite a few projects over the years and ended up being disappointed by most of them. So when Ashes of Creation was announced, it did take me a while to warm up to the project. I was skeptical, and to be fair, I'm still skeptical of some aspects of the project. But especially in the last few years, I've begun to appreciate the many ways in which this project truly is different, which we will get into. But I've also noticed the comments from countless people suggesting this project is overhyped, and that hype is creating unrealistic expectations in the eyes of many, which I disagree with. I've done a video on this before, but I don't think hype is a bad thing. To me, all that really matters is if the game is good. A few months after launch, people will forget all about whether it was over or under hype. Hype, to me, is a great marketing tool, and I've seen more than one MMO that was drastically under-marketed, which is a much bigger problem than a project being too hyped in the eyes of some people. But why would I make the bold statement that Ashes could actually be underhyped? Well, that comes from following the project extremely closely and realizing how different the team behind this is. This is a project that is not being made by a large existing studio, with a publisher that puts unnecessary demands on the project, rushed timelines, releasing the game before it is ready, not having a clear vision for the project, and of course, terrible monetization. These are all things we have seen ruin previous MMOs, and Intrepid is not doing any of these things. Instead, Intrepid Studios is led by Steven Sharif, a gamer who fell in love with the game but was disappointed by its flaws. That game, of course, was ArcheAge, and on paper, many of the failings of that game are being addressed in this game, which, again, I've already done a video on. But in summary, ArcheAge was a fantastic MMO that had several shortcomings, which is the case for a lot of Korean MMOs. Korean MMOs do a lot right. The combat is usually very good, the world and visuals are usually fantastic, but there are often many issues. Monetization, of course, being the biggest, but there are a lot of other things to consider as well. And this next one is a big one for me. This project is trying something different for a change. We're not getting just another cheap WoW clone. From Western developers, we've gotten WoW in space, WoW in Elder Scrolls, WoW with rifts, and WoW with overly cartoony graphics and action combat, just to name a few examples. Korean MMOs and super indie MMOs have given us at least some variety and not the same cookie-cutter bullshit. Those projects either had the standard Korean MMO problems or they were drastically underfunded. I used to cover the Riot MMOs some on this channel, but I have been of the feeling that it was reset long before it was officially announced as officially reset, so I lost interest in it a long time ago. One of my biggest concerns about that project was that it would be just yet another WoW clone, because that is what every Western published MMO from a large developer has been. Some of the Riot fanboys disagreed with me, of course, but that is what Riot does with every single game, and it turns out that is the reason they decided to reset the project. And of course, the previous leader of the Riot MMO, Ghostcrawler, has left the project to create a new MMO that so far just looks like WoW with some small twists. Ashes is very far from what WoW is. I personally am ecstatic to see an in-development Western MMO with good funding that is not just the same tired formula. We also have had projects that sound promising on paper but have plenty of issues. PAX Day is a promising project, but so far their combat hasn't made any improvements from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2, and they seem to be okay with having pay to win in their game. The Amazon Lord of the Rings MMO. Lord of the Rings is a fantastic IP, but AGS is gonna do AGS things. And I could keep going. There are a lot of MMOs in development, but all of them have issues that need to be addressed. And then we could talk about how well Ashes of Creation is funded, which is rare for an indie MMO. This project is extremely well funded. Steven has put in $45 million himself to this project, and the crowdfunding has raised a lot more, which again, I have already done a video on. Since that video, they likely have sold a lot more Alpha 2 packs, which means the funding numbers are a lot higher than even in that video. They should have over $100 million in total funding for this project, which is a lot more than most indie MMOs could ever dream of having. And those funding numbers will likely continue to go up as more and more people catch on to what is happening with this project, which is a project that truly is different from so many previous projects. Speaking of funding, we need to talk about today's video sponsor. Rocks. Rocks are one of the first weapons used by man. Rocks erode and become dirt, which is a past sponsor of the channel. Rock music is the best form of music, and even though rock music is not actually a rock, it is worth mentioning. Rock also rhymes with cock, a future video sponsor. A lot of people like rocks. They collect them, polish them, and all sorts of other exciting things. Rock hammers are also really great for breaking out of prison. Overall, a lot of people have been saying, rocks, they are really hard. Thanks, rocks. Intrepid is, of course, very well funded and independent, which in and of itself is incredibly rare. You also have to factor in the incredible culture that Steven has created with Intrepid Studios. Their employee turnover rate is incredibly low, well below industry averages.
Intrepid is hiring, and Intrepid is a very close-knit family, a group of friends and developers. We have an attrition rate of less than 2% year over year, which is something that we pride ourselves in.
To put that into context, the national annual turnover rate averages around 20%, though it does vary greatly year by year. For instance, the national turnover rate in 2021 was 47%, but most years around 20% is normal. The game development industry turnover rate averages a little higher than the national average of around 22%. So a 2% turnover rate is truly remarkable, and that speaks to the culture that Steven has created. In addition, you could look at the Glassdoor data. Intrepid has a 5-star rating on Glassdoor, which is incredibly rare. Granted, they do only have 12 reviews, but they are a new, smaller company. Compare that to Blizzard with a 3.5 rating, or Riot at 4.3, for context. So the culture at Intrepid is incredible, and you can see that when Steven brings developers in during the live streams. You can feel the passion in their voice when they talk about the game. And there are little things that most are probably not aware of that have caught my eye as well. For instance, the tank live stream was not well received by the community. So late on a Friday, they re-recorded the tank showcase. In a day and age when most businesses are empty late on a Friday, these dedicated employees stayed late to fix a problem. Steven is a gamer. He is genuine. You can feel the passion when he speaks. He knows the failings of previous MMOs. He knows how to fix those flaws. Do I think he can save the genre? No, I think it takes more than one developer to do that. But can he steer it back on the right course? I think that is not an unrealistic take at all. I think he can do that, and I think that process has already started. Feel free to hype this project even more. It deserves it, and it has earned it. And I know the comment section is gonna be wild, and I'm excited for it, especially the angry comments. I haven't made a video that brought out the haters in a while, and I wanted to stir y'all up again. And Ryvelations returns tonight at 6:30 p.m. on my Twitch. I'll see you guys there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.